Welcome back everyone. With today's video we're going to be taking a look at a collaboration between Jason Brous and Dustin Turpin, and that is this knife here, and it is a mid-tech based on Dustin Turpin's very popular Strife, which is probably one of the most popular knives in the market right now. So they created this mid-tech knife, which is supposed to be somewhere between a production and a custom, and let's take a look at it. Now there are two ways to take a look at this knife. The first of which is really to compare it with the full custom Strife to see how good it is in comparison, and the second is really to weigh it kind of on its own merits as the knife before us. Now since I don't have a custom Strife, unfortunately, I'll kind of be taking a look at this and comparing it just with the other knives that I've had and had the pleasure of owning and handling and using. So anyhow, first let's take a look at the packaging. Packaging is quite nice, coming from Jace from Brous Blades here. Here on the side you have the model, this is the satin Strife. Comes with a certificate of authenticity, signed, dated, and has the serial number on the back. So one thing that I really like about this package is that it is small enough to fit in the USPS small priority mail box, or little box that they use that you get for free from the post office. And so if you do acquire and ship a lot of knives such as I do, then that is a huge benefit to be able to use the smallest box and save some money on shipping. So anyways, random thought, knife addicts will know what I'm talking about. But anyways, so the blade. Let's take a look at talk about the overall specs here. So overall length is 9 inches. Blade length is 3.5, blade thickness is about 0.19 inches. The steel is D2, and this is obviously the satin finish. There are 3 other finishes, and the prices do vary. This is the least expensive. There's also a stonewash blade, a full blacked out blade, and then a acid etch stonewash blade, and so those move up in price as you head towards the acid stonewash. Now it's 5.8 ounces. It does use carbon fiber scales and titanium liners. And yes, ball bearing system, and it is a flipper. So there's a few other specs that I'll talk about, namely the handle thickness, but I'll get to that a little bit later. The price on these is pretty hefty. They're coming in over $400. I know on Blade HQ, this particular model is running about $480 right now. So pretty expensive knives. Even in the mid-tech range, they're a little up there. So anyways, let's start from the front, head to the back. The blade. This is really the gem of this knife. The blade is absolutely stellar, and so this is obviously based on Dustin Turpin's blade shape, and it's really one of my absolute favorites. It uses kind of this modified Tonto kind of harpoon. It's got this beautiful swedge, this nice big dip here in the middle. It does have a choil here, so you can choke up on the blade and use that nice dip to really get in and get a good grip on it if you need to do something specific. The grinds are really good, and this came really sharp. I mean, it's just an absolutely beautiful blade, and this is really what caught my attention when they first announced it. It just really makes the knife wonderful. You do have the Brous logo here, which is a really cool logo, and then here on the other side, this is Dustin Turpin's logo. So, as far as writing on the blade, I think that's pretty fair to have the Brous logo on one side and the Turpin logo on the other. So, thankfully, they didn't put any more writing, and just you don't want to detract from a blade shape this beautiful. And the satin finish is very nice. You'll have to excuse my finger marks and my oils all over the blade, but just a beautiful, beautiful blade shape. Really well executed, just amazingly sharp. The grind is a little asymmetrical. It's a little bit fatter on that side, a little thinner on that side. For some guys, that was a kind of an annoyance. For me, it's not really that big of a deal. It's not something that I even noticed until someone pointed it out to me. So, there have been a few quality control issues, just things that were a little bit off with this knife. But to Mr. Brous's credit, he's asked anyone that has any imperfection with the knife to contact him, and he will work to find a solution. I've even seen him make comments on people's Instagrams, and when they were talking about some issues they had, and he reached out to them and said, please send it back to me. So You know, he certainly cares about his name and his company's reputation, and that's wonderful. He's willing to go to that extra step. So, taking a look here, pivot, just a standard Torx. You know, nothing crazy, but gets the job done. Handle, obviously this very nice carbon fiber. It's very beautiful, no voids. I don't see any problems. Feels good. I believe this one is probably polished. It's got a little bit of traction. It's not super smooth, but it's certainly smooth. And then they have these kind of milled in patterns into the handle here. Gives you some traction when you're flipping the knife. So you get your thumb there, you grip in pretty well, and you just deploy it. So the ball bearing system that he uses, which I believe are stainless steel ball bearings, very smooth. The longer you have the knife, the smoother it gets. With one of my last videos, we took a look at that butchered Brous from Aprique, and that knife gets carried tremendously, and it was very, very smooth. Really nice. So, and then this one's, I've had it for about a week now. I've been flipping it like crazy, and it's smoothed out some since I even got it. So, really nice ball bearing system. One of my favorite things about the Brous blades, and this is, I've handled, I think, the entire lineup at this point, either friends or down at Blade HQ, but his lockup is always perfect. This does use titanium liners, and the lock interface to the steel is titanium on this liner. And I don't know if he carbonizes it, but there's just no stick whatsoever. It's a nice solid lockup, and so that's something that I've been very impressed with. I'm typically not a fan of titanium interfaces when it interfaces with the tang, because it does usually create some stick. If you flip it really hard, it'll stick harder. But with all the Brous blades, they've just been perfect. So anyways, the everything is kind of smooth and contoured here. Looks good, feels good. It's got this cool floating back spacer. It is a little asymmetric as well. You can see it's a little bit higher up here than on that side, but again, that's kind of a minor qualm. It's not perfect, but it's not doesn't affect the functionality of the blade really. I mean, you have to be nitpicky to see that. On the back side here, right now it's set up for right-handed carry as far as the pocket clip goes. Uses the you know, kind of the standard Brous deep carry pocket clip. Has a cutout here, so you can get a little bit more traction. However, with the thickness of the knife and then the deep carry pocket clip, I found this to be a little difficult to get out of my pockets. So anyhow, another cool thing that he's done with the pocket clip is, here's the lanyard hole, which is pretty small, but what you can do is you can take out that screw, and you can flip them over, so you can move the pocket clip to left-hand side, and then you can move the little lanyard hole to the right-hand side, or you can just take the screw out and take this thing out completely, which is what I would do if it was my knife. But anyways, this one's on loan from my friend Eric, so I do appreciate him letting me borrow this one. So, love the blade. The handle's pretty good. I mean, the carbon fiber is great. My only real qualm with the knife is just how thick the handle is. And since I don't have a custom strife, I don't know if a custom strife is actually this thick, or if they had to make it a little bit thicker for some reason to match maybe the blade thickness. I mean, I'm not quite sure, but that's really my biggest qualm with the knife, is just how thick it is. I mean, I've got extra large hands, but this even feels big in my hands. It feels pretty chunky. And they did do a little bit, I mean, they milled it here so that you get, so you know, it kind of conforms to the hand a little bit, but the top didn't really get much in the way of kind of relief on this side as well, which would give it that palm swelling. So it feels pretty thick in my hand, and I do have extra large hands. So what I did is I went through my entire collection that I have here right now. I do have a few knives out on loan, and I took some digital calipers to every single knife in my collection just to kind of find out what I like and kind of where my happy spot is. So I do have the thickness chart, or all the thickness of my blades right here. So anyways, the Brous Turpin came in at 0.06 inches thick, again, which is pretty thick. My Guardian Tactical Helix came in at 0.688, and then from there it just gets smaller. My Reate District 9 is 0.538, Horizon A by Reate is 0.522. Line steel SR1 0.572, zero tolerance 801. This is the carbon fiber brown wash 0.555. Spyderco Navaja 0.432, Gale Bradley 0.515, Butch Ball Custom Scorpion 0.503, Line Steel SR2 0.538, and then the Kershaw CQC7 was 0.446. So the average, not including this knife, because it's not mine, I omitted it, is 0.531. So apparently the knives that I like and that I keep are kind of in that thickness range of 0.531, with the next thickest being the Guardian Tactical, which was 0.688. So a lot of numbers, but anyways, this is, thicker than pretty much all my other knives. Now, as a good comparison, here is the Guardian Tactical Helix, both carbon fiber models, and this one, this one came in at 0.688 and this one 0.706. So they're relatively close. The difference is that, as you can see, they both made an effort here to remove some of the carbon fiber, to slim it down here on the bottom. And then on the top, the Guardian Tactical Helix did that as well, but the Brous did not. And I think that's why it feels just so fat in my hand. Yeah, so size comparison, I suppose, between the two. The Brous is a little bit longer. I believe it's also relatively the same size. I don't have the weight on this one in front of me. But anyway, that's my biggest qualm, is just how fat the knife is. And again, I don't have the custom Strife to compare it with to see if it's this thick, but if it were a little bit thinner, I think that would make it just absolutely perfect for me, something that I would, a reason for me to definitely buy it. Another nice thing that they did is they went through and they did the 45-degree chamfer on both of these, so that when you're flipping it, you're not hitting a 90-degree angle or right angle and kind of chewing up your finger. Although I found when flipping this one that my finger actually ends up kind of down in this groove. And again, since it's such a thick handle and you have a large space there, my finger actually end up sliding inside the cavern here, the crevice of it. So anyways, just minor things, and I know there are a lot of guys that got these and they've loved them. And again, it's just my personal opinion. I'm not knocking the knife or anything, just things that I don't love about it. So although that blade shape, it's, I think you can overlook some of the things you may not love just to have that beautiful, beautiful blade shape. So anyways, I think that's pretty much it. It's a well-made knife. It flips well. It's really smooth, great lockup, a little bit fat for me, a few minor, quality control issues with uneven backspacer and then the uneven grind here on the blade. But anyways, just some food for thought, some things to think about if you're interested in this knife. I know that Jim Skelton did a wonderful review, and he has the custom Strife to compare it to, so that's another data point if you are seriously interested in getting this knife. So I know that quite a few of them did sell out kind of in the pre-order status, and I think they were a bit cheaper if you pre-ordered them, but a few different vendors such as Blade HQ are going to be receiving theirs soon, so that will be a place to pick them up. Or if you check the forums, there are quite a few of these up on the secondary market for cheaper than you'll get at a retail right now. So guys are flipping these. I've seen quite a few being flipped, and you'll save a little bit of money that way. So anyways, cool knife. Just another one to take a look at. I'm grateful to have the opportunity to borrow this, play with this, and handle this. So thanks again to Eric. And that's pretty much it. Thanks so much for watching, and take care.